And it's me, Kelly in Phoenix. I am here with my cohorts, Bo and Connor, and we are going to talk about the LIV Tour briefly because they're kicking off this week. And of course, we're talking about PGA John Deere Classic. Not a great tournament, but still fun. And we're making a Tequila Sunrise. Just kidding. I went and tweeted out our link and I put the wrong one because that's how I operate lately.
Just killing it. Also,
she's the greatest.
I just want to take a moment to thank Seth for updating that final slide in our opening credits there. Because I'll tell you what, Nate never looked as good as, as Kelly does. So
it didn't matter how hard he tried either. Yeah, Kelly is a definite upgrade in the looks department from Nate.
I would hope so, but I don't
burn
to assume.
This will be like the once a decade Nate is actually listening to the show. He's gonna be all offended.
He's like, "Hey guys." So yeah, today we were talking about what cocktail should we make. Because we make one from a region usually every week, wherever the tournament is. And then tonight, Seth was like, hey, why don't you make one from the desert or Phoenix or something? So apparently, Tequila Sunrise, which everybody probably has heard of before, was invented in Arizona in a hotel room at the Biltmore, which is one of our oldest resorts.
My experience with tequila is it causes sunsets, not sunrises.
Well,
and you're doing it wrong then, because if I'm drinking tequila, I'm not going down until the sun comes up. That's Garth Brooks' shout out.
Down until the sun comes up. I don't know where that came from, but I'm tweeting now to join us live for golf and a cocktail. Let's hope it was this. Oh, it's the right link this time. Go me.
Copyright infringing. Now we can't post this. Way to go, guys.
Sorry, I ruined everything.
Just crushing tonight.
Nailed it.
Comments. We have our comment section going here. And anyway, Tequila Sunrise. I'm just going to jump right in because Bo already made his. And Connor usually has the bar cam, but I don't. So we have the bar desk today.
Ooh, that's classy. I like the angle too. That's like Facebook angles 101. And she's got her Japanese jigger. Great.
Is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I have my glass full of ice. And they're supposed to be measuring these things, but I'm not really. But here is some fresh squeezed orange juice that I made.
Wow, fresh squeeze. That's classy.
And this is a fancy tequila I bought today called 21 Seeds Grapefruit Hibiscus, infused with grapefruit, hibiscus, and other natural flavors.
They have a jalapeno one too that is delicious, and you can make a Bloody Maria with it, or Bloody Maria, however you want to pronounce it.
Maria.
Fantastic.
Maria Sangria.
I'm going to use the fat end of this. I don't know if that's right or not, but...
Yeah, that's the 2-ounce measurement.
Well.
Oh. Connor's not a tequila aficionado, so he's got his Knob Creek there, a little KC action. Is that the foolproof KC over there?
Yeah, it's 120.
Yeah, baby. Single barrel, too. Good stuff.
It's also supposed to have grenadine in it, but I don't have any, and there wasn't any at the store, so we're doing cherry juice.
That'll work, too.
Boop.
Oh, ain't it pretty?
Ooh, it is good.
Beautiful. And then
I always have grenadine on hand because it's so pretty.
you're supposed to have cherries in it.
I put double cherry for Connor.
Yeah.
All right, double cherry
Load it up,
for
would you?
Connor. And orange slice.
Boom.
Ta-ta.
Tequila.
Isn't it
Ooh.
lovely? Tequila
That looks
Sunrise.
Might as well get it out of our system and toast you for winning again.
Three-peat. God.
Repeat.
I'm not
I'm
going to let
starting
you
to think.
too much
I'm
of a
starting to
victory
think
lap.
that I just suck at this.
I know.
I can't.
No, we cannot be taking too big a victory lap on only getting 2 people through the cut. Now, come on.
That was awful.
Okay.
Last week was awful, and this
And
week's
you
going to
only
be
won
just
by
as good.
0.5. By 0.5.
But let me tell you this. I had two other lineups on FanDuel, and those lineups were in the money. They didn't win, but I doubled up on 2 tournaments on a different lineup in FanDuel. So I'm pretty proud of myself this week, and I'm okay with saying it.
The
Did
trick
better than
was
me.
what Boss Man did and compiled like what all 3 of us said. If you had
Yes.
played bits of all 3 of us, in the money.
You'd have been spectacular because you'd have had 2 out of 6 from each one of us, and that makes 6 out of 6 if you pick the right 2. Yeah, last week was wild because you had all the chalk guys miss the cut, and then all the guys that were like 6,000 and something were like pushing for their first title ever. And of course, how many times have we said on the show that Xander Schauffele never wins anything because he hadn't won in so long, and the guy comes out and runs away with it pretty much.
I lost my cherries while we were talking about that. I'm pretty
they sink.
disappointed.
It
sink to the bottom.
hurt my soul to watch Rory have that quad or whatever that was.
He
However,
wasn't the same after that.
no, and more importantly, it was the first week out of the entire season that I had 0% Rory shares. I did not play one lineup with Rory in it.
You
So
look
I was
like a
like-
genius at the end of the day. Yeah, on Thursday you look like an idiot, but the rest of the week you look pretty smart.
I'm like really enjoying this drink way too much.
It's a delicious drink. I love Tequila Sunrise.
I'm so glad I picked it. I
I'm
won't
glad you got
gloat
to.
too much. It was a 3P. I was proud of myself because some of those other lineups also paid off. So I'm very glad. Thank you to Royal Slade for welcoming me back. I have been under the weather, but I am back at it in full force. And yes, I am the hostess with the mostest. Thank you, backstage person.
We don't need to talk about how I've gotten last place 2 weeks in a row, and I feel like I'm just bad at this. And I got lucky a couple times earlier in the year because my track record the last month or so is no bueno.
I did my best to not bring up how badly you've been doing in our contest.
Terrible.
Pretty
If it makes
bad.
you feel any better, I'm just hemorrhaging money every week. So
Yeah. Well, I got
All
this
picks.
was I think when I put it into perspective, I feel kind of good that this was the last week was the first time I got absolutely skunked. Like instead of just like making some money but not making a profit, I did that every week where I at least made some money in some contest with one of my 20 lineups. Last week I got absolutely skunked $0 in winnings out of all my lineups. It was disgusting. Like the worst I've ever built lineups. I look like an idiot, but at least if I make any money this week at all, even if it's 50 cents, I'm back. I'm back, baby.
Back, baby. Mm.
I
Could have
just
added
want to let
more.
sleeping dogs lie on how bad we did.
Yeah, let's move on.
Let's move on.
How's that course looking, Connor?
No, we're going to talk about LIV right now.
Oh, the greedy buggers are getting more popular. That's cute.
We're talking about LIV because people want to hear about it, apparently.
So provocative.
So we're going to talk about LIV. A lot of people are still trying to figure out, what is going on here. So I've pulled up the website, how it works. And basically, Connor's told us this before, but I will give us a little recap. And it's 12 teams. So there's team and individual competition happening at the same time. There are 48 players, which is a much smaller field. And there are only 3 rounds with no cuts. So your guy plays through the whole thing, which is kind of exciting. So there's 54 holes, 3 rounds, no cuts. There are 8 events that make the season. And they do a shotgun start, which makes the round go faster for those of you who don't know what that's about. So faster play, more exciting play, apparently, is what they're calling for. This week's event is in Portland at Pumpkin Ridge Golf Club.
Yeah, I've played there.
Wow.
Gorgeous course.
It looks like it. It's situated on pristine farmland.
Yeah.
Only 20
Many
miles
undulations, I'm sure.
At the foot of the Cascade Range.
Etched into the landscape by renowned golf course architect Bob Cupp.
And
Carved right into the Willamette Valley.
Towering trees frame undulating fairways and manicured greens, creating a stunning tapestry for respite, relaxation, and adventure.
And millions of dollars in golf from oil and blood money. It's wonderful.
So that aside, I do think it's Kelly kind of summed up the way that it plays, like the way the tournaments go pretty well. The only thing I would add is that every Wednesday is a fresh draft. So now that the player pool has moved from 48, I think they're up to like 65 or so players. Sounds like not everybody's going to get in the swing of things. But the other thing
they have a cut then.
The other thing is with the draft, it's every Wednesday night before the tee on Thursday. And the way that the rounds actually work are the Thursday, Friday rounds, the top 2 players from each team, their score qualifies for the score for the team. And then on Saturday, it's the top 3 players from the foursome. And those are the point totals. So the only reason I bring that up, and Kelly, I think, is going to do some bets or some odds. But just by chance, I noticed that DraftKings did kick off their DFS for LIV this week. So super, super briefly, because I have no idea what shit show is going to come from trying to roster here. But I was going to bring up that the main points with if you're going to play DFS, it's only showdown. So it's not going to be the 3-round long. It does count all their strokes, whether they are the player that qualifies for the team score or not. They will accumulate points based on what they do. So it's anybody's game, but I mean, people that I was taking a look at, Dustin Johnson, who's up top, obviously. There's a guy from, his name is Henny Duplessis, who did really well last week in the opening event and averages about 78 points per DK. And,
anything is possible, Connor. Anything is possible.
Well, I bring him up because he's a good value at 8K. He's kind of right in with a bunch of other guys. And he actually rates out really well on some of the World Tour metrics. So he's a guy that people aren't going to be super familiar with. And I just thought, I'll throw in a couple of no names that people might want to play. Scott Vincent's another one that looked pretty decent his first outing. And then Peter Uline is somebody who a lot of people that play regular DFS PGA I'll be familiar with, but he actually placed really well last week in the inaugural, or 2 weeks ago in the inaugural LIV tournament. So he's a great value at $7,100 too. So just a couple of lower end building blocks. I have no leans anyway. I don't know much about this course. I think it's kind of a hit and giggle type of tournament, to be honest. So, tread lightly, but it is interesting that they've got DK now.
the one telling thing for me that I'm sorry, but I'm just refusing to consume this product in any way, shape, or form. I'm not visiting their website. I'm not watching it on YouTube. I'm not supporting this tour whatsoever. I'm borderline breaking my own code by talking about it. But what I will say is that the telling thing for me was when I was watching SportsCenter is when Charles Schwartzel won a couple weeks ago in London. The dude didn't even celebrate. You know why? Because it didn't mean anything to him to win a tournament. His team won the tournament. They won gobs of money. He won an extra $4 million, but the dude already had $100 million in the bank. What is $4 million when you got $100 million just for showing up to London and hitting the ball around a course? There's no incentive to win. There's no incentive to really play well. He just happened to play the best out of the 48 guys 2 weeks ago in London. And if a guy doesn't show any emotion the same week where we had one of the best U.S. Opens in history with the most loaded final round we could have ever hoped for, and this guy goes out and wins $4 million and doesn't even smile at the end of on the 18th hole on Saturday. I hate that. I want to see guys grind.
He was smiling all the way to the bank before the tournament.
Yeah, but that's sickening. That's just like, it's like he knows where that money comes from. He knows that he played golf well. But if he had won a tournament for $1.2 million on the Euro Tour or something like that, he would have been ecstatic because it took more out of him to win. His competitive juices were flowing. He didn't show anything winning $4 million, winning a LIV tournament. You know why? Because it doesn't fucking matter. The LIV Tour does not matter. And it still doesn't matter. No matter how many washed up has-beens they add to this tour and pay gobs of blood money to, they're never going to matter because they're still playing Pumpkin Ridge in Portland. They're still playing some stupid course in London. They're not playing St. Andrews. They're not playing Augusta. They're not playing against the best of the best right now. Like all these guys that are joining this tour haven't been anything in at least 2 years. Even Brooks Koepka, Mr. Majors only himself, Mr. Handsome, hasn't been relevant on tour in 2 years. So what are you going to do but shove money at guys who are a bunch of has-beens and belly aching about the PGA Tour structure for the last 2 years? You're throwing money at them. Of course they're going to take it. Good riddance to them. Sayonara, take your money, get out of my life. I don't want to see you ever again.
Holy shit. Yeah, no, Dustin, you're right. Dustin Johnson, not relevant, just won the Masters 18 months ago. Phil Mickelson, not relevant, just won the PGA Championship a year ago. But more importantly, what I was going to say is, like this tour or not, I think that if you're reading the headlines, I think some of that pressure they're putting on the PGA is going to have some good side effect. And I also, like I said a couple shows ago, I'm interested to see what the PGA may kind of borrow from LIV in terms of coverage, in terms of, just some of the ancillary pieces that LIV's trying out. Like it's kind of like the XFL to the NFL. So all the politics aside, I do think a little bit friendly competition, not so friendly competition, is not the worst thing in the world. And we're here to talk about it, whether we all love it or not. It's part of golf betting. So, Kelly,
I agree.
You have some bets.
I do. Explicit warnings.
If that's true, I'm glad too. They probably knew it was coming.
So I live in Arizona, and we do have DraftKings, and DraftKings and the state of Arizona are one of the first to start. I almost spilled my drink. To start getting LIV in the app. So if you're in one of the states that has the LIV Golf Tour, you're going to need to scroll across the different bets and you'll find a button that says LIV Golf Tour Portland. When you click that button, you're going to get tournament lines and matchups, and that's it. So on the tournament lines, you can pick the winner, the top 5, the top 10, and the end of round leaders. Very similar to what you'd find in our PGA tournaments. The smaller tournaments, very similar in the limited bets that you can make versus majors where you get more options. But what we have today is Dustin Johnson is showing up as the favorite, which I don't think is any surprise because he's probably the most relevant player out of the ones that went over there. So he's at plus 650, which is really low which makes him a high favorite compared to a lot of golf tournaments and the winner projections, because the next is Oosthuizen at plus 1,000. So pretty interesting odds that we're seeing there. We've got Answer coming in third favorite at plus 1,100, Koepka 1,200, Gooch 1,200.
Where's my boy Duplessis at? Runner up in the inaugural.
Where's Henny?
Let's go.
Where's my Henny?
Well, Henny. I'm still scrolling.
New places.
No line, plus 10,000.
Plus a million.
I actually don't even see him on here.
They're afraid to put odds on him.
Yeah, because if he wins, they're going to pay out a bunch of money.
There he is. I found him. It's just in the middle there, plus 3,500.
That
sucks. I'd want better odds than that.
I know, seriously, what the hell? Are you sure that doesn't say 35,000?
See, here's what's happening is these betting sites know that this is going to be at least popular in a niche variety for bettors. And they're giving us horrible betting odds on golf where even your favorites a lot of times are plus 1,200. And to have your favorite at plus 650 and then your other semi favorites at plus 1,000, they're just eating up money. They're eating up the line. They're just saying, hey, come and donate to our casino this week because your odds of picking this winner are very low, and your odds of in your payout is going to be way less than it would be if you were to pick a winner on the PGA Tour with a lot better edges. There's no edges on this tournament because nobody knows anything.
See, I disagree with you because I think that there is going to be a huge potential advantage once you start being able to parlay team play with individual matchups, because some of those teams are incredibly lopsided after the Wednesday night pick. And so I think that there really is, whether you want to win money off this tour or not, I really do think that there is an edge if you pay attention to the draft Wednesday night and get odds before they tee on Thursday. So, I mean, that's definitely something I would think about if you are looking to bet this and you have betting in your state.
Pay closer attention to the team structures than the actual golfers themselves.
Yep.
That makes sense.
So you're not able to parlay anything right now. I'm just playing around, so you can't parlay anything.
DraftKings is licking their chops this week. My God. They're saying good luck. DJ's going to show up, do a couple lines, and probably check out by the fourth hole and collect his $100 million. And
so no combination of anything I'm popping in is allowing us not the winner in a top 5, not a group of top 10s, not a 5 and a 10, not a matchup. If you look at matchups, you can't parlay your matchups either, which really sucks because you should be able to parlay a matchup and you cannot. So there's not a whole lot of money to be made, it doesn't look like, without the ability to parlay and the ability to pick a super long shot also. So I'm skipping putting any money down this week, not only because I got to
get better. They got to sweeten the pot for you guys.
Bitter. Yeah, I'm still a little bitter about this whole split and how it's being handled. But yeah, there's not really a lot of money to be made, and I love a good parlay, so I'm skipping.
Oh yeah,
I don't mind that 35-1 on Duplessis. I'd actually throw a couple bucks at that. That's not bad. If you want to bet, that's one I would throw. I'd throw a few bucks at it.
Connor's itching over there.
I just had pulp
fall
out of my mouth.
I find these guys, man. I just latch onto them. That's gonna be my boy.
So
Can we talk about the real tournament this week?
Yes, we can.
Yes, I just got a comment that said, on to the PGA Tour, please. Okay.
God. It's not going to be less entertaining.
It's not, though, because we have real players that are actually playing for something. These guys are trying to keep their card, you know?
We don't need to spin it back this week. It was a little brutal. I won. We all knew that. So let's
Kelly's
go ahead.
The winner. Bow down to Queen Kelly.
No trunk slams.
The club as well. This would be a wrestling slam.
Yeah.
I don't know what I just did. Sorry. I was trying to get rid of the comment and I turned off the music, but we are not slamming trunks. It was almost over. You didn't miss anything. Let's move on.
So John Deere Classic, TPC Deer Run in Illinois. I think the tournament's been here since 1972. It's 7,257 yards of pure greatness, par 71. It is bent grass. Traditionally very slow, traditionally pretty easy to hit fairways and greens. The biggest, I guess the most penal part of the course is going to be the rough is up, but it doesn't come into play frequently. There are runoffs around the greens. There are bunkers, but to be perfectly honest, I mean, we got guys like Lucas Glover throwing up 19 under last year to win the tournament. I mean, this is a birdie fest. It's an easy course. It's an easier field.
Wouldn't you say the water hazards are also penal, Connor?
I would say they are largely penal. but I will, like I said,
unfortunately, we can't find the Zalatoris at the Deer Run for the penal.
I think the whole field would withdraw if Zalatoris showed up. They'd just be like, "Oh, you're right, you win." But honest God, this course. If you're playing DFS this week, I think some of the bigger things to think about is the way that ownership is going to be saturated. You've had a lot of withdrawals. You've had a lot of players go to LIV that would normally have participated in this tournament. You got a lot of no-name guys that you can get leverage with, and you just have to decide if you truly believe that a guy near the top of this salary is going to win this, because you're going to be looking at 25 to probably close to 50% owned on a lot of these guys near the top, because there's only about 5-6 guys with name cred. So I think a lot of people, especially the more amateur DFS players, are going to gravitate towards a name they know, and then really, honest to God, just kind of throw darts at the bottom.
That's what I'm seeing when I look at all the data on the salaries too. If you look at the salaries, nice flex. You look at the salaries, you'll see that is ringing true, because the most notable names are the most expensive names, and it's not necessarily because they can win, which is why it's supposed to be. But yeah, I noticed that.
It's odd.
This is actually a great one.
It's odd too, because if you actually take time and try and get into the analytics that would fit this course, there are some really bizarre names that rise to the top. I mean, and I do my modeling based on 36 rounds. So this is fairly recent trends with a lot of the guys that I might bring up. And if you are doing any kind of modeling, if you're on Bo and Kelly's site, or if you subscribe to like Fantasy National, any of those, the things I did look at, I looked at a little bit of approach. I looked at a little bit of par 4 scoring, actually a lot of bit of par 4 scoring, because there's a lot of par 4s that are easy to score on. I did look at opportunities gained. The traditional winners here are guys that are getting relatively close. The greens are a little tricky. They're slow and undulating. And so
slow. They have lots of grain, penal grain.
I did look at proximity from 125 to 150. That's where I would say a good 60% of your approach shots are going to come from. And then, like I said, traditionally the winners here are good from kind of that wedge to short iron distance in, and traditionally been pretty decent on the greens. So those are the stats I looked at, if you care. If not, we can get into it.
Let's go.
I'm just popping some people in there.
I was just going to say that this might be, if you're crazy like me and you've been playing 20 lineups all year long, this might be the time where I make a nice sizable deposit and I start playing 150 lineups, because this tournament's going to be random as hell. And I might want to get max exposure to some randos on this board and just shotgun approach this thing, because a lot of the guys that are going to win at DFS this week are going to be those sharps that have their algorithms. They're going to plug it all in. They're just going to throw in a whole bunch of names. Half the field's going to be in their pool, and they're going to do 150 lineups and just try to stack the top of the leaderboard. Those are the people that are going to win this week. on the DFS site. So I am very tempted to put through my fantasy cruncher to 150 lineups instead of 20 and just expand my pool, because there's so many guys here that you and I and like all three of us recognize most of these names, like if not all of them, but your average player is not going to. Like he said, the leverage is there for the picking, and we just need to be able to identify at least, I would say, 40 to 50 guys in this field that could win this whole thing. And there's probably more of them. And I think that it's valuable to take a more like just buckshot approach to this field and try to see what hits. It might cost a little bit more entry fee leverage, but it might pay off exponentially more because the same money is still involved here on DraftKings and FanDuel for you to win. It's not like it's a terrible tournament to win money on. It's a terrible tournament if you're trying to predict who's going to win you money.
Well, and I love that, Bo, because like normally I think anybody who's listening to us knows I'm usually more cautious. Like I don't play 150 lineups. I play
not today, baby.
10 to 20. Usually is kind of my mix. I usually narrow it down to about the same amount of players too, about 10 to 20, very concentrated. Trust my stats, whether they're right or wrong. This week, I'm all about the leverage. I'm all about having a much broader stroke as we look at how we're building lineups. And to be perfectly honest, if you're 20% owned or higher, I'm probably just going to fade you the majority of my lineups. Like I think Webb Simpson will be an exception. I'll play a fair amount of him, but outside of that, like I'm not clicking Adam Hadwin 60% of my lineups to get leverage. Like that's ridiculous. I mean,
you're going to lose. You're going to lose because if Hadwin has had lose, then you are screwed.
Which for me, he typically is.
Right. He's like your Tom Hoagie, where he's either going to win or he's going to miss the cut by a mile.
Well, Hadwin.
Kelly, who are your studs to target this week?
Well, I have Hadwin listed. What I did on my video this week did not have Hadwin, though, because what I wanted to show was the value players, and Hadwin is not one of those value players. In fact, the top everybody is not a value at all. They're very pricey, well overpriced, and the only person that came in any realm of possibility of being a value would have been Cameron Davis. And it's somewhat of a value, still not as good as a lot of these other players in the field that you can build a lineup with. But what I was looking at was if I did make the spend on Adam Hadwin, for instance, there's actually still plenty of money, even on FanDuel, to make a ridiculous lineup. So you should make multiple. I only make 4 usually. And that's a lot for me. Most of the time I'll make 1 or 2, depending on who I can fit in where. And then last week I made 4, 3 of them hit. And then this week I am thinking about really digging in and using those tools that allow you to build multiple lineups, because the value is so good. When I go in and I look at that value, and what we're talking about is you're getting the most bang for your buck. This player has the stats that are the value of a player that salary is much higher. So what we look at here is this guy, Ryan Armour. I've never put Ryan Armour in a lineup. However, Ryan Armour looks fantastic on paper when you look at all of the stats that we look at every week: greens and regulations, accuracy, scrambling, strokes gained, all of the things that we talk about every week. This guy's got on paper. However, his odds, he's at 107 apparently, but it doesn't line up with the rest of the stats. So you know me, I like the data, I like digging in, I like finding those little nuggets, and that one stands out. And you want to talk about the rest of the names real quick, I'll just throw these out here. All of these are amazing values. Gim, Martin Laird, Svensson. However, Svensson is highly rostered. So that's one where you're like, do I go with the crowd? Do I not? You've got Smalley, Lahiri, Lipsky, Lashley. I have a Kazire floating up here, but I don't like him this week. I don't like Kazire this week, but I do like Hubbard. So it's really interesting the lineups that you're able to put together. And if you put some of those guys with the salary that they're at very low, we're talking under 8, mostly in the 7s. You can put in some of these bigger names should you want to. Webb Simpson, Adam Hadwin, Maverick McNeely, if you want to.
Yeah, some of these lineups I'm building are leaving a ton of money on the table, and that's okay, guys. You don't have to spend your whole salary cap, especially not this week. The optimal lineup last week left almost $4,000 on the table on DraftKings. It was an optimal lineup with 2 guys over 10,000, and the rest of the guys were 7,300 or below. And 7,300 was Sahith Theegala, and the rest of them were in the 6,000 range of just randos. So the optimal lineup last week only cost, I think it was 3,700 under the salary cap on DraftKings. It doesn't mean you have to fill out your $50,000 salary cap or 60,000 on FanDuel. You could take your guys, and even if you're 1,000 short of the salary cap, it's okay. The best plays are still going to be the best plays. And a lot of times they're more leveraged that way because you're not going to be duplicated, leaving a bunch of salary on the table. My most expensive lineup only leaves 100. I don't have anywhere I'm maxed out to the dollar. And most of them are anywhere between 300 and 700 left over that I've built so far, because there are guys that I'm avoiding, a lot of these chalky guys. I'll have some exposure to most of the top of this price scale, but not a lot. I'm gonna go really heavy in the middle. A lot of Cam Davis, like you said. I love Cam Davis. He's red hot right now. Mark Hubbard, you said. Lucas Glover, the guy is solid. I mean, he's not anything flashy. He's always priced pretty decently. He's a little bit overpriced this week, but I think that's going to help us in the leverage department. The only guy I want to spend up on is Denny McCarthy, because the guy can putt the lights out. And I know if you're going to making birdies, a lot of them are going to be putts from more than 10 feet away. He's not the best proximity guy, which goes against Connor's model, but the dude drains putts from all over the world. The guy is one of the best putters in the world, and I think he can go low in this kind of tournament.
Wow.
You're muted, Connor. You are so muted. It is not even funny.
Dude, do you know how many times I've tried to talk? Holy shit. Unbelievable. My dog was barking like crazy, and I was like, why are they ignoring me? Like, this is brutal compared to like normal. What I was going to say is I have Denny McCarthy in my pool too. I really like him. I play a ton of Denny McCarthy. The biggest thing that stood out for me with Denny is that he is number 2 in this field over the last 36 for shots gained par 4, which we know is critical this week. He also is up there in DK scoring, and to Bo's point, over the last 36 rounds, he is number 3 in this field in putting. So Denny McCarthy is a fantastic play this week, I think. The 2 guys in that range, so that we can give people some actual plays, since we've just been talking about building, but I am going to play Webb Simpson. I liked what I saw last week. I am willing to pay up for him. I do think he has ample win equity. And 10-6, I actually think is a reasonable price for him in this field. So I'll eat some chalk with Webb Simpson in some of my lineups. I'm not touching anybody else above 10K. And as a matter of fact, I'm not touching most of the 9s either. I will have some Denny McCarthy, but I'm going to start a lot of my lineups at Christian Bezuidenhout, who rates out number 5 over the last 36 rounds for me. And I think it gives you a great leverage play, because Charles Howell III, after his stellar performance last week, is popping at like 25% owned. So a couple $100 less and about half the ownership. So I'll take Christian Bezuidenhout all day, who is a good putter, good approach game, good from the key, proximity distance. I'm in.
I like that. I like that move. I was just going to say, I know that the original question was, where are my top picks? I like Adam Hadwin. I do. And I do like the Bez there. Don't ask me to try and say it because
Chavez.
I cannot say it.
So he said it right the first time and then wrong the second time. So Connor, I think he's doing the shotgun approach to the pronunciation.
It's Bezadenhout.
Yeah, you said Bezudenhout or something the second time. So
No, Knob Creek said Bezudenhout.
My goodness. But if we're looking at I know that again, I like to look at the stats. I like to look at the patterns. It is Webb Simpson is looking great as well. I mean, there's no denying that, having made the cut in his last 4 outings. There's not a whole lot of people who've done more than that. Hadwin's made the cut in the last 3 outings. But other than that, there's a lot of missed cuts for the last outing and a lot of people who've made it the last 2 outings. So like we've talked about, this isn't a spectacular field. And I feel like a lot of people are just going to play their guy if their guy is playing. So there's that to contend with as well. I mean, you might as well go Maverick McNeely if you really are feeling
Maverick. Shout out NorCal, Maverick McNeely.
Little Maverick.
I'm not gonna have a ton of him.
It bugs me. I want to play Mav. I do, but I'm looking at the numbers and God, he sucks lately. $9,500. I'm out.
He's not good on approach. Like
he hasn't. He's not made the cut in his last 3 outings, so that's pretty bad. Before that, he was on fire.
Should we talk about some like 8,000 up to the 9K kind of that middle range?
I'd love to.
So I know we hit on Cam Davis. Cam Davis is in my pool. Cam Davis is not going to rate out incredibly well for you. So if you're looking at Cam Davis, and a lot of people are, you got to look more just kind of like what the signs are that he's showing where he's kind of rounding into form. Statistically, though, he's had a lot of down rounds over the last 36 to 52 rounds. So, I mean, you're probably not going to get him popping in a lot of modeling, but I think he is a good play, but he is going to be super popular.
Yeah, he does pop up in the Team Riser Fall stats if you were to look at value. But like you mentioned, driving accuracy, gross. Greens and regulations, gross. However,
great short game though. Great short game.
His approach is fantastic, and his scramble game is fantastic. So
the only thing about him though, Kelly, is the only thing I'll point out is you're not wrong. Just general approach stats, he is really good.
Mm-hmm.
He's really middling in terms of the proximity range that we're talking about, where most of those second shots are coming from, especially with his driving distance. And the other thing too is he is really not fantastic at par 4 or strokes gained par 4. So he's not necessarily losing strokes on par 4s. He's just not gaining on the field on par 4s. Cam Davis is generally somebody that I typically am going to like on a little bit longer course, where he can kind of use some of that distance to his advantage. And he's not only on his drive, but also on his approach shots. He's just a little better from the longer distances. So I'm still going to play him, but I do think those are some things to know, just kind of level set.
Smaller field, I'm all over him. Larger tournaments, I'm not going to want to get overexposed because of the ownership and because of the pitfalls you see there. But yeah, if it's like a head-to-head or a head-to-head-to-head or small field tournament, then yeah, heck yeah, I'm all over that guy because he's red hot right now. You can't ignore a guy's recent form, especially in a tournament like this where birdies are going to be a premium. You have to make birdies to win this tournament, and you want the guys that are coming in hot. That being said, I like CT Pan this week.
Oh, you're stealing one of my boys.
Oh, do you like CT Pan? Because I love CT Pan.
I think he looks good this week as well. Yeah.
Yeah, the dude's a scoring machine. He doesn't do well on tough courses. This doesn't fall under that category. We've seen him show up to Sawgrass and look like crap. He looks like crap in all the majors he qualifies for. But you get him in one of these John Deere Classics or your Valero Texas Open, and, well, by golly, CT Pan's climbing the leaderboard. I think it's just one of those weeks where we see CT Pan make a ton of birdies and not so many double bogeys that we see on the tougher courses. And The guy shows up. He's got 3 top 10s this year, and there's a reason for that. The guy's good at putting the ball in the hole when there's not much adversity. There's not many penal parts of the golf course.
You know that's a word, right?
No.
Yeah, but it's a funny word that we have to keep repeating.
I like CG Pan as well. There's not a whole lot in the 8s that I like. The ones I really like seem to be in the 7s. So
Well, let me throw 2 that are in my pool then, and we'll move into the 7s. So Brendan Todd is somebody who I don't play a lot.
Todd.
Excellent putter, number 1 in the field over the last 36. Excellent in shots gained par 4 in comparison to the rest of this field. And he's right at a price point where, like I said, I think Cam Davis and Lucas Glover are going to be popular. And Brendan Todd at 8,500 actually makes you think twice about clicking the button because he's more expensive than those guys. So I do like Brendan Todd. And then Lanto Griffin is somebody that I play off and on. He does rate out overall number 10 for me in my modeling. So he's worth throwing out. And I will say he's also good from the key proximity distance and par 4 strokes gained. So if you're looking for a little different avenues to play down there because of the popularity of Cam Davis and Lucas Glover, those are 2 options that are right around him.
And his name's Lanto. How cool is that?
Yeah, Lanto Star Wars Griffin.
that's pretty cool. I mean, one that I
already
like.
mentioned what's his name, Glover, but he's popular. Sorry, Kelly.
No, I was just going to say, like, depending on what platform you're playing, obviously the pricing on the salaries gets different. One that's on the bubble here for us that I mentioned early on was Ryan Armour, who I've never played before, because it just looks so good on paper. 7,100 on DraftKings, weird 8,800 on FanDuel, but it still works well. That's very cute, Bo. And event history, not looking so good. Last 2 outings made the cut, and he's actually made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cuts of 10. So not terrible. And all of those have been 35 or better. So I think that's pretty great. Somebody who's just been flying under the radar, coming in 35th, 25th, whatever. We're not really paying attention. However, strokes gained are all great. Putting stats, nothing alarming at all. In fact, 3 putt avoidance looks great. Driving accuracy, 75% accurate drive. And
driving distance, though, is pretty.
Distance does not matter.
Company, but they ought to let him tee from the ladies.
Yeah, I pretty much outdrive your boy there.
I'm not worried about the driving distance. Accuracy is 75% accuracy and 68% greens in regulation.
If everybody else is hitting a 9-iron and he's hitting a 4-iron, we're in trouble.
Actually, though, I'm with Kelly. I will jump in on that point because I think it's important. He's number 8 in this field over the last 36 with par 4 strokes gained. He's number 11 in opportunities gained. He's number 18 from the key proximity range we're looking for. And he's number 9 in my modeling overall. Like, I hate Ryan Armour. He screws me all the time, but I will have some. So I'm with Kelly 100%.
I just felt like it really, not just because it's super highlighted in our tool, but when you go through that data and you're looking for somebody who's just going to float to the top, that's one that really floated to the top for me. And the other one who I'm tentative on, but I find myself leaning towards is Martin Laird.
Praise Laird.
I like it.
Our Laird and Savior.
It's our Laird and Savior. It's okay. He's got
hallelujah, praise the Lord.
History. His recent play was 13. Who knows if he can continue? But he ended up strokes gained is looking really, really good. He can also scramble, which could be important. So that jumped out at me as I was doing my little video. And the last name I'll throw out, I'm talking a lot, is a favorite of Conor, and that's Mark Hubbard. And he comes in at 7,400 on DraftKings and a whopping 9,000 on FanDuel. However, again, it will fit. Trust me, it will work. And Hubbard's looking great last 4 outings. In fact, his last 10 outings, he's only got 1 stinker.
I only dropped 1 F-bomb, but I will say, like, my favorite thing about Hubbard is his don't give a shit quotient. Like, he goes out and has a good time. He jokes around, like, and when he's in the groove and playing well, like, he's not a guy that rattles easy. And this is a field where I think he can actually come in with some confidence. So I'm really on Hubbard. We would be amiss if I didn't mention my boy Charlie Hoffman at 7,100, who I'll be playing.
Oh, gross! Charlie Hoffman freaking sucks.
Approach game.
I already threw my. I already used my F-bomb for something earlier for the LIV Tour, and now I'm not going to be able to throw it out for Charlie freaking Hoffman.
So I'm playing him because his approach game has been steady. His putting is middling, but you know, when he's $7,100, like, he's down there with people like
where he belongs.
Yeah, he does belong down there, but I'll take him over Scott Piercy. I'll take him over Chesson Hadley. I'll take him over Sam Ryder. Like, he's not a horrible play at the price. I would rather play Ryan Armour based on the stats. But I will say Charlie Hoffman is somebody to throw in a couple of lineups. The other guy that we kind of breezed right past that I am going to have a few shares in is...
sorry, but I think that's disgusting. I'm just going to tell you.
That's
Thank
fine.
you, Kelly.
Yeah. That's fine. You don't have to like him, but you should like Kevin.
I'm actually going to do everything in my power to not
Trillman.
need to look at the $7,100 run.
Can you
garbage?
Just for a second. Kevin Trillman is somebody who you should take a look at because
there you go.
Our stats that I talked about earlier, he rates out number 1 in this field, believe it or not. And at $7,900, he is fantastic in most every statistic we're looking at. So Kevin Trillman, $7,900. He will make probably greater than 50% of my lineups. I think that's a great price and a great value. When we talk about value, there's probably not a better value in this field, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. I like it. I like Strelman. Hate Hoffman. That's gross. There's nothing about him that says play Hoffman.
Yeah, my 2 biggest values are Streelman and Hubbard. So yeah, I'm on board with all those guys.
I like
Grillo. Can I throw out a name? Oh,
I like
Grillo,
yeah. I like Gim.
Grillo.
And the other one that I was going to mention too is somebody I've been playing for a few weeks. God, I just lost my train of thought.
Lashley?
No. Chris Gotterup. I've been playing him for weeks now, and he was
great last
week. Chris Gotterup is on the verge, and 7,300, especially considering the performance I watched last week. That's a pretty damn reasonable price in this field.
That's so much of a better play than
Can we make sure he's playing because all of his data is not showing up for me?
No, he might.
He doesn't have enough data. He's only played in 4 events.
All. He would have not event history, but he'd have previous events.
No advanced stats. Unless you drill it down, like season-wide stats, he doesn't qualify.
Okay, well, for the last 10 events, he doesn't have anything showing for me, and I'm like, why is that?
He keeps making cuts. I've been playing him kind of under the radar. I didn't want to throw him out early because he's one of those names, and so
you're right. I mean,
he's been solid.
The probabilities,
the
probabilities for his salary range are he should be way more at the top. If we're just talking about probabilities to finish.
Ugh, Hoffman, gross.
Hoffman's really gross.
I'd rather play Smotherman.
Nah. I had my run with Smotherman. I'm done with that. That's a phase of my life we're done with.
Oh, this is interesting. Taylor
I'd rather play Hayden Buckley than Charlie Hoffman.
All right, I'll tell you what.
I'd rather
our head-to-head, I'll play Hoffman.
I'd rather play Kevin Chappell, Bryce Garnett. I'd rather play all those guys.
You play anybody that's 7,100, you pick them against Charlie Hoffman. I'll play you straight up. I will play Charlie Hoffman in our head-to-head.
I might have to give you odds.
You don't have to give me anything. He'll make the cut. He might win.
Dustin Hadley, way better.
So I'm looking at some other just data for funsies while you guys yammer. And Taylor Moore, 60% to make the cut, which is better finish probability than pretty much everybody we talked about in the 7s and 8s. And 1.4% to win, which that doesn't sound like a lot, but when you're talking about some of these CTP on 1.4 to win, Lanto Griffin 1.2, Ryan Armour 1.5. So I'm like, wait a second, but the rest of his data is gross. But if we're just looking at finishing probabilities, I'm like, hey, that's kind of saucy.
Hey.
That could be a good top 20, top 40 bet.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing it out there.
I'm just gonna try to avoid that range altogether because I don't think we don't really need to spend up to, because there's so many value plays here. It's just gonna be like last week where the optimal lineup is just, you don't have to spend up to get.
I was going to say, though, you're right. You don't have to spend up, but I've got actually a handful of guys in the 6s that I like I actually would play.
Saucy, go ahead.
Chase Seifert, Justin Lauer, however you want to pronounce it. Doc Redman, who I started playing a couple weeks ago, is looking better.
Yep.
And then our boy, you guys may remember him from Match Play. I think it was Match Play. Sung, you'll know. I don't know why I came onto him late, but he's actually been scoring well on DK points. And his putting actually is in the lower quarter of the field too. So just if you really want to stack the top for whatever reason, 6,300. But
all right, here's the value play I'm throwing out there. I agree with all those guys you just said. The only one you've really thrown out there was just gross was Hoffman. Everything else I've agreed with. Mr. Peter Malnati. Peter Malnati is a fantastic value at 6,600.
What about Boo Weekly?
No. You're just trying to piss me off now. No, Malnati is one of the best values down under 7. I see a lot of these other guys like Norlander, and you can go down that far if you're really desperate, but you really don't have to. Doc Redman, I love. Harry Higgs might have himself a week. Joseph Bramlett's a bomber, can't putt to save his life though. So Callum Tarrant I mentioned already. But yeah, my value play of the week is going to be Peter Malnati.
And can I say mine before I lose my train of thought and let Kelly take back over? Just Chase Seifert actually was where I was going with my value play of the week. He's number 6 in my modeling. He's number 1 in shots gained par 4, number 3 in opportunities gained, and number 2 on overall approach metrics. $6,700. Chase Seifert is my value play of the week.
That's fantastic.
Now, please.
Well, I found something saucy, but it was Steve Stricker because he's won 3 consecutive years in a row, but he withdrew. Yeah, he withdrew.
It was sad.
And he was a super awesome value with a super awesome finish probability.
I was into him too.
Boo.
Me too.
Boo Radley.
Boo Weekly.
All right, Kelly, give us one.
We boo Charlie Hoffman weekly.
Give us a value play below 7K on DK, and then let's do our captain's picks and get on out.
Below 7K. I'll probably just stick with my one that I gave you. It's at 7K, Taylor Moore. I'm going to try that out. That looks a little sassy, a little saucy. I kind of like it. Sounds exotic. And that's
more.
How much more, Taylor? How much more?
So Taylor Moore. I'll throw that in there as the value pick at 7,000 on DK. Why not?
I don't hate it.
I don't hate it either. It would have been Steve Stricker, but c'est la vie.
Seifert, Moore, and then Bo. Who's yours? Who is yours again?
Malnati.
Oh, yes.
He's so naughty in the Illuminati, Peter Malnati. Naughty Illuminati Malnati.
All right, winner picks first for the captain.
Captain. Shoot. Well, I think I'm going to play Hadwin, so I might as well make it Hadwin.
No argument. I will take Christian Bezadenhout.
That was going to be my second one, but I thought you might, so I went with Hadwin.
You just love saying Bezadenhout. He's just Bez to us.
I'm taking Bez.
Bez. I guess you guys are gonna leave me no choice but take Webb Simpson. He's just the solid choice. I would have my first choice was actually your boy Hadwin, but he's gonna be chalky as all get up. For this purpose, I'll take the guy who's been playing pretty much as well as anybody in this field and hasn't withdrawn yet. Webb Simpson, please don't withdraw.
Please don't withdraw. Well, this was a good show. It was a fun drink. It was a good chatter about LIV. If you didn't get the start, certain states have access to bet the LIV tour if you'd like. We're a mixed bag here. I'm probably on the fence the most. So, yeah. Tune in from the beginning if you just jumped in and hear that. And then about midway through, we start with somebody asking, please move on to the PGA Tour. And we did.
That's royal, yeah. Slade Royal.
Off our 2 loyal viewers.
I know, right? Right.
Yeah, we spent entirely too much time on those pansies.
Sorry about that, boys. We'll get into it quicker next week.
Well, until then, follow us on Twitter. I know that all of us put out articles from various publications, IBT Media, and more. And also, I like to share my picks. So if you want to tail them, you can. So we'll see you around, everyone. Bye.